Hey guys! Every quarter in art, we go over basic color theory. And basically, this is how we use the color wheel and how we use colors in patterns or in getting dressed or in the advertisements or really in a lot of places. Color is everywhere and artists use colors in certain ways. You have been given the color wheel sheet to complete, and by watching this video, all you need to do is make sure that you need to read and follow the directions on the sheet. You're going to use color pencils to complete each of the sections. And I want you to write the definitions down where there's blanks. And yes, you need multiple examples for each of the different color schemes. You can use the textbook pages, which are in OneNote, or if you're in the classroom, you can get a book off of the shelf and turn to page 36 to find your definitions. But I bet that if you just finish watching the video, that you can get it all completed. If you listen and start and stop the video as I give you the instructions. So your first side of the sheet has the color wheel. The color wheel is a diagram that shows us the color spectrum, which are the wavelengths of light that we see, and that is how we perceive color. There are 12 hues on the color wheel, and a hue is basically a fancy word for color. You need to color each of the colors of the color wheel neatly using your color pencils. When you get to the intermediate colors, which are the colors that are made from mixing a primary and a secondary color, you'll just need to mix the two colored pencil colors that you have in order to create those colors. Stop the video now and start coloring each of the colors on the color wheel. Color schemes. Color schemes are plans for using colors or specific groups of colors. Either one of these definitions works for color schemes. The basic color schemes can be seen on the color wheel based on when you see those triangles. Primary colors are our first basic color scheme, and those are the colors which cannot be made by mixing any other colors. They happen first. Blue, yellow, and red are primary colors. When you mix two primary colors together, then you get the secondary colors. For example, blue and yellow create green, and red and blue create the color violet. They're secondary because they come after the primary colors. The last 6 colors on the color wheel are called the intermediate colors. Intermediate colors are created from mixing a primary and a secondary color together. They may also be called tertiary sometimes. So for example, intermediate colors would be red and orange to create red-orange. Or you might mix blue and green to create blue-green. Now what you're going to do is stop the video and put a star outside of each of your primary colors, put an exclamation point outside of each of the secondary colors, and put a heart outside of each of your intermediate colors. As I said before, intermediate and tertiary colors, it means the same thing. This is a different color wheel than what is on your sheet, and it shows the relationships between the colors very clearly. And from here you can begin to use the color wheel as a map for choosing more advanced color schemes. We are now going to move into how do we use the color wheel as a map to plan our color schemes. And this is going to go beyond using primaries, secondaries, and intermediate or tertiary colors. Color schemes, again, are plans for using colors. You now need to turn your paper over to complete the back side. Make sure that you write down the definition of color schemes on that very first line. Analogous colors are colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. Analogous colors also have a color which relates the colors to each other, which is why it creates such harmonious pictures. So when a color is next to another color on the color wheel, they usually share a hue. For example, red, red-violet, and violet are related because they all have red. Yellow-orange, orange, and red-orange are related because they all have the color orange. Yellow, yellow-green, and green all have yellow. Do you get it? Analogous colors create very harmonious color schemes, and artists might use 3 or 4 colors which are right next to each other on the color wheel in analogous color schemes. The neutral colors are colors that are not on the color spectrum. These colors are created when all of the colors are mixed together and they cancel each other out. Like when you mix 2 complementary colors together, you might get brown and then eventually it'll turn gray. Have you ever seen a color wheel with the circle of gray in the center? That's because when you mix those 2 opposite colors together, or if you mix all 3 primary colors together, you'll get gray. And then it'll eventually turn a little bit brown. Black and white are also neutral colors because they represent the absence or the abundance of light. And these colors are also not on the color wheel, so we call them neutral. And the neutral colors are kind of great because they go with everything. Triads are triadic color schemes happen when you have 3 colors that are evenly spaced. Remember those primaries and those secondaries? Those are examples of triad color schemes. Triadic color schemes are 4 spaces apart from each other. They create harmonious feeling, and you might pick one of them as the main color, and then you count 4 spaces to get to the next color. Examples of triad color schemes might be red, yellow, and blue, like your primaries, green, violet, and orange, like your secondaries, or red-violet, blue-green, and yellow-orange, using the intermediates. There are 4 groups of triads on the color wheel. Monochromatic color schemes are very harmonious because they use tints and shades of one color. Where tints and shades, remember, are examples of values. So an artist using a monochromatic color scheme is using a range of values or changes of intensity from the one color, so that you can focus on what's happening in the image rather than on how the artist is using the color. Complementary colors are complements, are colors that are opposites of each other on the color wheel. You might even say they are across from each other on the color wheel. Complementary colors have a lot of contrast from each other because they are opposites. As you look at the complementary colors, you might see some familiar pairings for each of those groups. I also want you to notice how colors are completely across from each other on the color wheel, and that's why they are opposites. When you mix the complementary colors together, you might get brown or gray, because they literally cancel each other out and neutralize each other. Stop the video now. Make sure that you fill in the blank for complements, and then color in each group based on which groups are complementary to each other. New to 8th grade are split complementary color schemes. Split complementary color schemes give us a lot more variety, but still creating harmonious color schemes, because you also have a little bit of a contrasting color. The contrasting color happens because you're using a color and two colors on each side of its complement. For example, if you look at the diagram, do you see how the arrows are pointed at violet, yellow-green, and yellow-orange? Remember that violet and yellow are opposites of each other. In this split complementary color scheme, though, you are using violet and then the colors which are next to yellow, yellow-green, and yellow-orange. That's how you get that harmonious variety, because yellow-green and yellow-orange are related to each other, but then violet is a completely opposite color. Another example of a split complementary color scheme would be blue, yellow-orange, and red-orange. Make sure that you create examples of for each of the spaces of a split complementary color scheme. Warm colors. If you haven't noticed by now, the color wheel is a circle. One half of the circle is our warm colors, and the other half are made up of cool colors. The warm colors are colors that advance toward us in space. Warm colors are the colors from red to yellow-green. So red, red-orange, orange, yellow-orange, yellow, and yellow-green are all warm colors. Cool colors are colors which go back or recede in space. They give us a calm feeling because of their coolness. The cool colors are the other half of the color wheel. They will be red-violet, violet, blue-violet, blue, blue-green, and green. These next art pieces are all examples of how famous artists have used color schemes throughout art history. I want you to notice how the artists are manipulating their colors, using tints and shades, creating variety, so that your artist's eye has something interesting to look at, as well as something that is harmonious. When artists use these color schemes, they definitely have a plan for what they want it to do, but they're using the color wheel just like a map to plan their colors and to make sure that everything is going to work out harmonious in the end. I want to thank you for being great and getting towards the end of the video. Make sure that you finish both sides of the sheet and take a picture and turn it in on time. Thank you.